Hello everybody and welcome back to our wonderful Drarry Adventcalendar with the story A Husband for Christmas by Jolly Love. Today we are at day 22, Christmas wrapping. Sighing, Draco opened the door to the ministry officials. We're here to assess the house and its current value. Draco had already sent all of his and his son's personal belongings to Pansy.
Have you found someone to marry then?
One of the high officials asked. Not that Draco cared to remember his name.
No, sir. It didn't work out.
The ministry official nodded.
Well, then, I believe there is nothing else left to say. Pack a bag with your necessities and move out by Boxing Day. We'll have some hours here to see that you've actually gone and been keyed out of the Manor wards.
Draco inclined his head.
Yes, sir.
With that, the ministry officials walked around the house and Draco sat in the kitchen eating ice cream together with Scorpius. After what seemed like an eternity, the highest aura of the group walked into the kitchen and nodded at Draco.
Lord Malfoy, please pack up anything personal.
Handed over a list on a parchment.
These are the things you're allowed to take from the house. If anything else will be missing from that we've written down, there will be a punishment. Mostly the amount of money depends on the value and size of the missing item.
With that, the aura bid goodbye and Draco sighed. He looked at the parchment and was rather relieved he had already packed most things. Not even half of what he had now stored with Pansy was on the list. It was probably just the bare minimum on there.
So, what do we do now?
Scorpius asked and looked at Draco with wide eyes.
I don't know.
Draco sighed and rubbed his forehead.
For now, we can stay with Pansy, but she likes to be alone with her family, so in the long haul, we probably have to go into the Muggle world, find a small apartment there, and get better like that.
Scorpius nodded.
Okay, I'll go look at my plush animals. I don't even want most of them anymore anyway.
Draco smiled and hugged his son.
You know you don't have to pretend, Scorp. I'll make this right again.
Well,
Scorpius chuckled.
You also don't need to pretend to be unfazed by it, and you don't have to make it right.
Frowning, Draco looked at his son.
What do you mean?
Scorpius was long outside, and Draco shook his head, smirking softly. This boy was stronger than he had the right to be. Cleaning up the kitchen, he thought about a way to make money in the Muggle world. His potions business was going great, especially since nobody knew who was sitting behind Potions for the Heart. So at least there was something. However, if he wanted to live in the Muggle world, he needed to find a job there as well. Since Scorpius was going to Hogwarts soon, maybe he could find a night shift somewhere. When he walked through the halls, looking at the parchment list, he suddenly found himself in front of the portrait room. He heeded to tell Astoria that he wouldn't be coming back after tomorrow. Sighing, he opened the door and found most portraits empty. It wasn't surprising, seeing that the auras had probably scared most of the darker relatives into the other frames. Luckily, Draco found Astoria sitting in her frame and smiling as soon as she saw him looking at her. "Hello, Draco, dear. How are you holding up?" Draco smiled sadly.
Well, it could be better, but I'll figure it out. Don't worry about Scorpius. I'll take care of him, I promise.
Astoria returned his sad smile. "It's not him I'm worried about. You should look after yourself as well."
I tried.
Draco sighed.
But I ended up with this Simon idiot and...
The portrait was quick to interrupt him. "You weren't looking out for you when you got to meet Simon. You wanted Scorpius to have a somewhat normal childhood in the Manor. That's the only reason why you even thought of getting married to him." Draco nodded silently. Of course she was right. He had always tried to look out for his son. Everything in his life after Astoria's death had been to help Scorpius. It was as if he had decided to ignore his own problems and put a stop to his own life. Then again, Astoria had always been the one to help him over anything. "If you had all the time in the world, Draco, what would you want to do?" Sighing, Draco rubbed his forehead.
I'd probably try to find Harry and tell him what an idiot I've been, and I would.
He wet his lips, unsure if this was what he would do right now if he had all the time in the world.
I would ask him to marry me.
Astoria beamed and nodded. "See? That had nothing to do with Scorpius, except that I think he loves him very much as well. So what's stopping you?"
I don't know where he lives. I might have found some ex-Aura who knows very well how to hide himself and doesn't want to be found."
Draco sighed and shook his head.
"And Christmas is in 2 days. I doubt he wants to be found then."
The door creaked open and Draco turned around to see Scorpius standing there, looking slightly guilty. Probably because he had listened in on what his parents had been talking about. Frowning, Draco beckoned him to come closer, and the boy almost snuck towards them, presenting his mother with a shy smile.
"I know where Harry's going to be on Christmas,"
he said, and looked back up at Draco.
"What? How do you know?"
Draco widened his eyes. Scorpius blushed slightly and shrugged his shoulders.
"The last time we went to Mother's grave, I walked around the cemetery and I found a hidden entrance to another graveside. It led through a small forest to Ginny's grave. I know that's the name of Harry's wife. He talked about her."
Astoria smiled weakly, but Draco frowned.
"And what does this have to do with you knowing where Harry's going to be in 2 days?"
"I've asked Rose if he spends Christmas with them. When I asked Harry what he's doing on Christmas, he said he was going to spend it with his family. But Rose said he's never been with them. But sometimes her dad goes somewhere and comes back with Harry. I think he celebrates Christmas with Ginny."
Scorpius finally ended his explanation.
"That is so dark."
Draco looked from Scorpius to Astoria, who seemed to agree with that. She gave Scorpius a soft smile. "Then I guess you know where you can find him, then." Draco hugged his son, and they bid goodbye to her. Draco wasn't going to give up so quickly. Not anymore. To be continued.